Alright, so these are the quiz corrections for quiz number 11. We took this yesterday on December 3rd, 2015. Zoom in a little bit better. Question number 1. Holly has $150 to spend at the shopping mall. She decides to buy sweaters and pants with her money. Sweaters cost $35 each and pants cost $20 each. Notice how I circled some key information. Pants, that would be P and 20. It says write an equation, represent this problem situation. Use S to represent the number of sweaters. That's your variable, right? S represents sweaters and P represents the number of pants. So the equation you can get is $35 times each sweater. Right? The reason why it's times is because multiplication is a faster way of adding. And then I would add that to 20 times each pants. That equals $150. Okay? If you wrote something like S plus P equals 150, well, I gave you 3 points out of 4 because you recognize that you needed to add it up to be 150, but you forgot the coefficients or the cost per those items. Question 1b. If Holly buys 3 sweaters, so notice how I made my variable S is equal to 3, so that means you need to buy 3 sweaters. What is the greatest number of pants she can buy? Show your work and explain your reasoning. So I'm just going to use the equation. I'm just going to be using the equation here. And if I have S is equal to 3, that means P is the unknown. If the P is unknown, that's what we're solving for. So I have 35 times 3, so I'm buying 3 sweaters at $35 each. I get 105. So 105 plus 20p equals 150. Here you're just solving the equation, so you're going the opposite of order of operations. So you're going to do the adding and subtracting first. So I subtract $105. That means I'm left with 20p equals $45 or $20 per pair of pants. And when you do the division, you'll get something like you can buy 2.25 pants. Now in a store you can't buy that, so you would have to round down. That means the answer is 2 pairs of pants. Now a lot of students aren't using equations. You're kind of just using multiplication and adding and subtracting. Okay, you eventually need to go in that direction of using equations. C. If Holly buys no pants, that means P is equal to 0. What is the greatest number of sweaters that she can buy? Show your work and explain your reasoning. So again, I'm going to use the same equation I got in part A, 35S plus 20P equals 150. Well, if there's no pants, that is a 0. It means I'm not going to buy any pairs of pants. Therefore, I have $35 per sweater equals 150. And if you do your division there, I got something like 35 goes into 150 around more than 4. Well, I can't buy part of a sweater, so the answer is 4 sweaters. Notice how if your partner had the answer and they were copying and the other person didn't explain it to them, then the person doesn't get credit. Question number 2. Solve for the formula C equals 2 pi r for r. Show your work. The common mistake is students thought you were solving for the circumference. You should recognize that you don't have any information. You don't know the circumference and you don't know the radius. We did these problems in class where you highlighted the r, which means you need to get r by itself. Look at the answer. Here, r is by itself. Here, these are all next to each other, which means they're multiplication. So to get r by itself, you can divide both sides by 2 pi. Over here, these will cancel. You're just left with r equals circumference, or c, over 2 pi. So again, a lot of students thought, okay, I know what pi is, 3.14, but I wasn't asking you to solve a number, right? There was no something like 30 inches. That was not what you were supposed to do there. Question 3a. Write the equation 2x plus 3y equals 9 in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form means you get the y variable by itself. A lot of students struggled on this question. So the first thing you need to do is, I decided to subtract 2x from both sides. Notice how I'm trying to get this y by itself. I'm left with 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. This next step, a lot of students didn't understand division. So I have 3y equals negative 2x divided by 3 plus 9 divided by 3. When you're dividing by this 3 here, the 3 doesn't just go into the 9, it also goes to the negative 2. Here these will these will cancel. I'm left with negative 2/3 x plus 9 over 3, which turns into a 3. So here is my slope-intercept form. My slope is negative 2/3, which means I have a rise of negative 2 over a positive 3. And my y-intercept is positive 3. So on my graph, notice here I start here at positive 3. I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2, and then right 3. 1, 2, 3. And that would be your graph. Also notice for this problem, we did this in class earlier this week, this is in standard form, so if you were needed to graph it, you could have just graphed it with your intercepts, right? Make x equals to 0, get an ordered pair, make y equals to 0, you have two ordered pairs, you have your x and y intercepts, and you just graph it. Any questions? That side was worth 24 points. Turn to the back side. Harlan owns a vegetable stand. He grows and sells his own vegetables at his stand in the city. He charges 75 cents for each tomato, and each month, 5 lucky passerbyers get a free tomato. Harlan sells more tomatoes than he gives. Okay, so 75 cents per tomato. He's giving away 5 tomatoes, and it tells you write a linear equation, a linear function to represent the amount Harlan earns each month. So the total amount he gets. Let x represent the number of tomatoes distributed. Okay, so you have these tomatoes, and the reason why we subtract 5 because that represents the 5 he gives away. So if you had t of x equals 0.775 times quantity x minus 5, I gave you 4 points. I gave you 3 points out of 4 if you just had 0.75x. You would recognize that's 75 cents per tomato. Or if you just distributed here, that means you get 75 cents per tomato, but you need to recoup those 5 tomatoes you gave away for free, and 5 times 75 cents will give you $3.75. Question 4b. How much would Harlan earn in a month if he distributed 80 tomatoes to his customers? So here, x is equal to 80. So you just substitute that into your equation from above. You can use either of these functions here. I just chose to use the one on the left. So x is equal to 80. Every time you see x, you put in 80. So that means you're only getting a profit for 75 of those tomatoes. 75 times 75 will give you 56.25. Harlan will earn 56.25 selling 80 tomatoes. If you guys noticed, these were some similar questions that we actually did in class. I think we did, what problem did we do? The what? Oh yeah, the flowers questions. C. The next month, Harlan decides to sell cucumbers for 60 cents each. Each month, 3 lucky passerbyers get a free cucumber. He always sells more cucumbers than he gives away. Write a linear function to represent the amount of money Harlan earns each month from the cucumber sales. Let x represent the number of cucumbers distributed. So my function is c of x. The number of cucumbers sold is the total amount, is equal to 60 cents times quantity x minus 3. Or you could have got c of x equals 0.60x minus, over here this says 180. Again, if you just wrote something like 0.60x, I would have given you 3 out of 4 points. So these functions will tell us how much he would earn in a month if he sold a certain amount of cucumbers. Raise your hand if you need more time on these two to copy. Now in question 4A and B, we're talking about tomatoes. And then in 4C, we were talking about what? Cucumbers. So down here, in D, some of you guys are a little bit confused. Some students thought this was multiple choice. This was not multiple choice. Harlan writes a function for the total amount of money he will earn for selling both items. His work is shown below. Is Harlan correct? Explain why or why not. If you knew it was multiple choice, you would see letters on the side, A, B, C, D, or D, or 1, 2, 3. Or you would see the words multiple choice, or you say pick one. So you would know that they're not asking you to circle one. Okay? A lot of students did that. Here, Harlan tries to add tomatoes plus cucumbers. Well, the reason why you can't add these functions together, even though he did substitute them correctly, is that x here represents tomatoes and x here represents cucumbers. So when you get this final equation here, you can't say you don't know if this one's tomatoes or cucumbers. Okay. That was the same thing as yesterday or this past week's lesson, right? They're selling flowers. One person sold amount of flowers, but the other person sold them twice as fast. Do you guys remember that? That's the reason why you couldn't make this variable the same. Question number 5 was the same question from your previous quiz. You don't see it, but it says B there. And question number 6, write the equation y equals negative 1/4 x plus 3 in standard form. So you're taking it from slope-intercept form. We need to get in standard form means you have the x and the y on one side. Well, in order to do that, you'll have to add 1/4 x to both sides. You'll get 1/4 x plus y equals 3. Remember, in standard form, you can't have any fractions, and the leading coefficient can't be negative. So how do you get rid of this fraction? You multiply by the denominator there. See it? So if I have this multiply both sides by 4, 4 times 1/4 will give me 1x. 4 times y gives me 4y. And 3 times 4 gives me 12. X plus 4y equals 12 is in standard form. That side was worth 22 points.